Hello, my friends, fellow acolytes of empathy. I have been asked by my good friend and mentor, Dr. Simeon Hein, to just explore signal versus noise and how to get a better signal. Before I go into that, I'd just like to say I'm still recovering from the coronavirus. It's been about 3 weeks. It's been the weirdest bug where you're up and down and have some very strange effects, from losing the sense of smell and taste to incredibly vivid dreams to an ability for this virus to seem, after like a 2 weeks or whatever period, like you're okay. And then you get up and you move around and you're like, oh no, I'm not okay. So normally I would have a little bit more vim and vigor, but I love you guys, so I wanted to get this to you as soon as possible. I'm sorry that I couldn't get it to you guys earlier. So, signal versus noise. There's oftentimes a misconception that you're trying to find the signal, that you're trying to find a note, almost like a bird song that you can identify, or a specific note that your ear hears like a musician, and you can recreate, or you can capture, or you can familiarize yourself with, and that signal will give you the information. Where I look at this very differently, and a lot of people who explore this topic feel the same way that I do, that it's really not about the signal, it's about the noise. It's about quieting the noise and quieting your mind, making your mind still. And then the very first thought that comes to mind, which is usually called a gestalt, that is the signal. And as bizarre as it sounds, you don't really control it. You just listen to it and faithfully describe it. Write it down. As weird and bizarre as that first gestalt is, you have to write it down, because you will see, and other remote viewers will tell you, that that's the signal. And surprisingly, astonishingly, it's incredibly accurate. So let's go back to noise for a moment and stilling your mind. There's a lot of ways to teach yourself how to do this. And one of my favorite quotes is from Nagarjuna, a very well-known, student / master of the Yoga Sutras, who discussed these abilities 2,000 years ago, and referring to them as vistas on the path of virtue, almost distractions even. But he described these abilities very well 2,000 years ago. And he said, if you can still your mind like the surface of a lake, you can reflect the universe. I love that quote. So, you have to learn how to do that, and it takes time. Meditation helps. And if you haven't meditated before, start small. It's okay to meditate for 30 seconds when you're beginning. Just 30 seconds. And you can concentrate on a tiny dot in a sea of blackness. Or you can really try to focus on nothingness. And I believe it's very important to add impediments. So as you start to get better and better with getting this silence, the stillness, you then take yourself to uncomfortable, loud, distracting situations and try and find that stillness there. And it will make your stillness more grounded and powerful so that the gestalt, the signal, is much clearer. And I've learned to do this over time, and there's tons of examples. I was going down to a Joshua Tree to be one of the speakers in a really special event. It was very, very, very special for me. Created by Rob Freeman, who's just a genius and a wonderful soul. And they asked me to do a remote viewing while I was in line at the Newark airport. And I'm being jostled and all of that. And they know my philosophy about adding impediments as you get better and better to make you stronger. And so they called me and said, "You want to do one now?" I was like, "Oh, I don't really want to do it now. I'm so busy and distracted." But impediments are really good to get better. So I did it. And I had a very, very accurate viewing. And those of you who don't know me or we're not friends already, I should have done this at the beginning of the video, but I'm a very good, I've been told that I'm a very good viewer, very, very accurate. I know that from experience, and I've been utilized by top companies. I can say now that I have been working for over a year and a half with the head scientist from Skinwalker, Eric Bard, who I just, wildly respect as a scientist and an intellect. I've worked with other agencies, and more recently I've been contacted by different very significant groups. And so I'm fairly well known as a good viewer and an accurate practitioner. And, I was called a Psychic X in a series of viewings that me and several other psychics were doing. And I actually got to choose X, but each person got a letter. And so I wanted to be X, and that's how I was referred to through that series. But anyway, wherever you are, whatever context you're under, whether you're working for a client, you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for others, there's going to be times when you're stressed and you're under pressure to be accurate. But all you really have to do is get to that place of stillness, and the signal will come to you. The gestalt will come to you. And how you know it's the right signal is before you do your meditation, before you start to do your viewing, you tell yourself, ask yourself what are the questions that they want to know. Or repeat the target number if you're just getting a target number. Repeat these to yourself several times before you go into your meditation and listen for the signal, because that will direct your mind and your subconscious to give you the information you're looking for. So you have to have that signal versus noise dichotomy in your brain, well established. Work on the impediments and go easy on yourself. Experiment, play. There are many different forms of viewing and ESP and psi. And personally, I think the best method for garnering information from nothing is CRV, the original version created by Ingo Swann, and then really, I hate to say improved, but it really technically has been improved and clarified by Dr. Simeon Hein. I've taken numerous of the classes. I always go back and take basic classes and work on the basic skills. I think it's very important to always be a student. So I have found, and the results speak for themselves, that Dr. Simeon Hein's method of teaching, Ingo's method, is the best out of all the different teachers. And I've seen a lot of the different teachers. I've worked on a lot of the different forms of RV, and there's many different forms. But also, I think it's important to realize that different forms are good for different types of targets. Sometimes you just get a number. Sometimes it's double blind. Sometimes it's a context about a person, or you'll know it's an object. So there are times where a different form of viewing suits your abilities better than others for the specific type of target. So it's really important to play and experiment with these other forms. And go easy on yourself about the signal. You're not waiting to listen for a specific signal, a specific noise. It's the very first thought that comes to mind once you've established that stillness. And you will see wonderfully how accurate your subconscious is. This whole art form, this whole sense, this whole ability to resonate with something else, to me really comes from empathy. Dr. Hein really focuses on resonance, and that's really the key about what's going on here. You know, if you have a tuning fork and you hit a note, it will over distance make the other one vibrate, and they will both become in tune. And what's kind of happening is, it's not just resonance in my mind. It's empathy, it's feeling, it's understanding, it's connecting with something else and becoming it so much that you both are on the same exact page. You both vibrate at the same level because you've connected so much. You have so much empathy for that other object or the target that the information does something magical. It leaps across distances. And we know across many sciences that resonance has an ability to transfer energy across distances and fields and what are normally impossible obstacles. So resonance is weird. It's powerful. If every object, it's not if, every object has a frequency. You know, Tesla had his earthquake machine, and he could fine-tune it to make bridges vibrate or buildings to vibrate. And you have the ability to empathize with something else or someone else and connect with that. And empathy to me is resonance and love and connection. And a magical energy will transfer across those distances. A connection will be made. So, in the Yoga Sutras, 2,000 years ago, when they talked about connecting with another, they were talking about empathy and resonance. And they called this journey the path of virtue. So as you become a better and better person, and you work on all these different skills, these abilities will increase. And you will discover all sorts of other abilities. And they are unquestionably real. You don't really know how real and amazingly exciting it is until you really do it yourself or see it yourself or experience it. It's so outside of our social conventions that it just sounds almost preposterous. The ability to see across distances, hear across distances, times, and garner all sorts of amazing information. You know, most of our grandparents would tell us some, wacky thing like, you have to drink cranberry juice or you're going to have problems with your kidneys. And you're like, oh yeah, sure, right. And then like a week later, you're like, oh, you're in the hospital because you've got kidney stones. How do they know? Perhaps, like many of the best viewers have said, that they got their abilities from their mothers. And perhaps evolution has allowed us to tap into information that's just under the surface, that our eyes can't see, our ears can't hear, we can't taste, we can't smell, but we still have a sense for. None of our senses are perfect. And our ability to resonate across times and spaces and to get data and information isn't always perfect either, like our other senses. So take it easy on yourself. But know that there is a substructure underneath this universe that allows us to connect to any place, anytime. And you can do it if you still your mind and listen to that gestalt. So, if there's any way that I can help any of you guys, it would be an honor to help. Feel free to reach out to me at alienprotocols@gmail.com. And I would like to further thank Dr. Simeon Hein for being so prescient, for being so wise and insightful to be teaching this stuff for 20 years. And passing on the gift that Ingo Swann and many other masters have been trying to pass on to us for eons. So I'm deeply thankful for my friendship with my mentor, Dr. Simeon Hein, and I'm deeply thankful for the ability to explore these things. And if there's any way we can ever help you, it would be a pleasure. Much love to you and yours.